The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining what is the second Green Impact Team Showcase that we've run through ACTS now to provide you with the opportunity to learn about what other teams are doing throughout the Green Impact Program in Australia and New Zealand. So we've got a great set of presenters joining us today that are going to talk through some of the ways that they're tackling the actions within their own Green Impact toolkits. As I said, this is the second of these webinars that we've run. We launched the first one last month in July and ran it. They're really successful. We got fantastic feedback from the session initially. So we've decided to make this an ongoing feature that will run through ACTS. We probably won't have too many more for this year, given that everybody's in the latter end of their programs and we're starting to head towards toolkit submission deadlines. And then we move into the next phase of the program, which is auditing and celebrating the successes of what you've done. But still, there's time. You can still get quite a few things done within your toolkit actions before your respective deadlines, so don't think that it's too late. And of course, we always do encourage people to keep going with the amazing work that they do, even when the toolkits are offline, because ideally the program will run in 2020 at your institution, and you can still get all of that fantastic work counted in next year's toolkit. So I'm going to provide a little bit of an introduction now, and hopefully my Prezi works without any issues. There we go, fantastic. And before I go any further, I will let you know that if you've got any questions or if you're having any issues, please write it into the chat bar, the question bar, and I'll do my best to respond to your questions when I can. We will have 3 different presentations today as part of the session, and then I think at the very end we'll open it up for Q&A. So if you do have a question for one of our panelists presenting today, you'll have the opportunity to ask it. You can either type it in, as I said, into the question bar there, or if you do have a microphone, then we can unmute you and you can ask your question directly. So there will be opportunity for that at the end. And hopefully you'll leave this session today feeling very motivated and inspired by what other work is happening within the program. So as I said, we've got 3 presentations happening today. The first one is going to be happening from our team at the University of Tasmania. So we've got Louise Murphy and Alison Hall that will both be talking about one of the programs that they're working on. Then we'll go to Renee Chanthagoon from James Cook University, talking about a fantastic initiative that they're running through their team around stressing down, which is, I think, something we all need to work on in our busy campus lives. And then finally, we've got a bit of a different presentation coming from Dani Harmshaw, who is actually the program lead for Deakin University's Green Impact program. So she's the one that's been working to support the program delivery over there. But they're doing a fantastic initiative around composting that I thought a lot of people would be interested to hear about. So even though it's not a specific Green Impact team, I thought this was a great platform to let you know what's happening there, because I'm certainly interested to hear about it, and I'm sure a lot of you will be as well. So before we get into the presentations, I do want to give just a quick introduction and overview of where the program is at within the Australasian context. So click onto my next slide. Just in case you're not aware, the Green Impact program is still quite new in Australasia, even though it has been around for over 10 years now. It was initially developed by the NUS in the UK 10 years ago, and has spent over the past decade has gone through a major evolution and continual improvement to be the fantastic program that we've been able to pick up and launch here in Australasia in just a couple of years. So in 2017, the University of Melbourne was the first organisation to pilot this fantastic program, and based on their success, we were able to form, we as in ACTS, were able to form a partnership with NUS to bring the program more broadly to Australia and New Zealand and support the delivery here. So in 2018, that was the first year that we did that, and we had 8 organisations or 8 universities that took on that took on the program to pilot it for their first year, which is absolutely fantastic. And moving now into 2019, we have 14 universities participating in the program this year. So you can see on the screen there all of those universities. I won't name them all, but yeah, some fantastic diversity with the institutions that we're seeing, particularly across Australia and New Zealand. We're seeing fantastic results from these programs across the board. Already this year, just within our little cohort of universities, we have over 390 teams participating, which equates to hundreds of people directly involved within this program. And already this year, we have collectively logged over 5,000 actions. So each one of those individual actions all represent something that we're doing to collectively work towards making our campuses more sustainable, more healthy, inclusive places to work and study in. So we're doing really well. And when you look at what that contributes in the global scheme of things, you can see just this year, these are the stats that we have within the program. So there are 178 organisations taking part. So Green Impact is a program that can be implemented at pretty much any organisation that has a few or more people working for it. It can be run at universities, hospitals, local government, businesses and organisations. Its breadth is really quite strong, and we're currently investigating about how we can expand the program outside of the university sector in Australia and New Zealand as well at the moment, which is really exciting. But for the moment, our 14 institutions fit into that 178 global total. And that represents over 22,000 people taking part within this program just this year. So we really are part of a global community, and ACTS is certainly looking at ways that we can strengthen the networks between the people participating in this program, both within our own institutions, within our own Australasian network, and those also taking part predominantly in the UK, but really all over the world as well. And collectively, we have this year completed 88,000 sustainability actions. So I always like to show this when I'm talking to teams who might be unsure about whether they want to participate in Green Impact. They might think that they don't have a lot of time to do things. And my answer to that is you only need to complete one action within this program to be part of a really much bigger impact that people are having. So that one action does count, particularly when you look in this global collective of actions that are taking part. Okay, so that was all I really wanted to say as an introduction. Thank you for listening to me give that quick update. Now I'm going to pass on to our first team showcase. So Team TIA from the University of Tasmania, and we've got Louise and Alison that will both be co-presenting this. So if you guys want to unmute your microphones, hopefully there's no dramas there, and we'll jump straight into your presentation.
Great, thank you. So I'm Alison and I'll present first up. So Louise and I are both members of the Tasmanian Institute of Agriculture Green Impact team. So we are a relatively new team of 5 people. So we also have Sam Flight, Steve Boone and Jess Flint. And so as Rihanna mentioned, we're part of the University of Tasmania, and so we're based on the northwest coast. And some of the things that we have done so far as part of our Green Impact team is we have recently had delivery of 3 new coffee pod boxes for coffee pod recycling. 2 of those have been placed in staff areas across the campus here and 1 in the student tea area. So that's to encourage people that have, I guess, coffee pod machines at home to bring their coffee pods in for recycling, which will be collected. We also have started soft plastics recycling, which has had a huge uptake with support from all staff. And so we have quite a lot of signage around in terms of what can and can't be included in soft plastics. And also we have a couple of research labs here, and our lab staff have also started collection of soft plastics, with over 500 Snap-Lock bags collected in just 1 week. And you can start to hear a lot of staff talking about what is and isn't recyclable, and encouraging others around the campus to get involved, and what they can also do at home. We've also started our own battery recycling, and so any and lots of different kind of batteries are included in that. And so we've got a box in our printer room which staff use frequently, that can then be emptied into the main battery recycling tube, which is in the main campus of our building. And another thing which is, I guess, a little bit on a different topic, is we've also started a 3 p.m. walking group. So that's been really well attended. It's just a 10-minute walk around the block, and staff are talking really positively about the impact that has on their day and their stress levels, being able to get out of the office and get a bit of fresh air before they return back to work for the afternoon. So there's some of the things that I guess we are already doing and are already underway, and I'll pass over to Louise to have a chat about the things we've got I guess in the works and already starting on some of our research farms. Thanks, Louise.
Thanks, Alison. Our main achievement that we've really been working on over the past few weeks especially, has been an implementation of a silage wrap and fertiliser bag recycling on our 2 research farms. So we're primarily a research-based group up here on the northwest coast on this campus, and we have 2 research farm facilities attached to our organisation here. One is a dairy research farm at Elliot, which is about 20 minutes northwest of our local campus, and another which is a horticultural farm which is about 20 minutes east of where we are, and they focus primarily on vegetable cropping, extractive plants and protective cropping. And both sites use a lot of bulk fertiliser bags and also silage wraps and single-use bags to deal with animal feed and stock care and that sort of thing. And they're actually a really big problem because they're not recyclable through main recycling plants. The silage wrap is a particular concern because it's a stretchy plastic, a bit like glad wrap, that is used to make fodder for the cattle. And the difference between hay and silage is that hay is cut and dried, and whereas silage is then baled while it's still green and wrapped in this plastic. And they're individually wrapped or often wrapped in one great big long continuous line. And the wrap keeps the air out of the fodder, which allows the sugars in the hay to ferment into silage and develops quite a palatable taste. So it's a bit like sort of sauerkraut, I suppose, for cows. And the trouble is that plastic is so stretchy that it moulds around the bale, of course, to form an airtight seal. And this means that it can't be put through normal recycling plants. It's a huge problem in our industries and on the farms. And most farmers either end up burying it or burning it or taking it to landfill, which is not ideal. So I saw a program on Landline only a few weeks ago, and it really inspired me to think about what we might be able to do with this silage wrap and bulk bags, which is sort of a woven fabric bag made out of nylon. What we can do with these on our research farms, and I raised it at work and raised it with our farm managers who seemed quite interested in the idea. I asked around a bit and we found a local company which will take both the silage wrap and the woven bags and recycle them into all sorts of amazing products. So far we've got 3-tonne bulk bags ready for pickup, full of fertiliser bags and food bags, and they're out at Forsyth. And Forsyth are also transitioning to a Jackie bin pickup system, which will reduce the need for these large bulk bags. A Jackie bin is like a 1-tonne side or central discharge bin, which is mounted on a frame, is taken on a truck to the fertiliser supplier, and it's filled there at the site rather than arriving in a one-use bag. So that means that it'll get rid of hopefully a lot of plastic waste that we won't need anymore, which is really exciting. When I spoke to Doug, our farm manager, this morning. He said the staff out there have been all over it like a fat kid on a cupcake, direct quote. So he's actually quite excited that we're really reducing our plastic waste out there. We've started to collect the products only a few weeks ago, as I said, and we've already got some ready for collection to the recycling plant. We intend to have information sessions on farm recycling and incorporate into field days and extension activities in order to spread the message throughout our farming community, because I think it's a really big problem that farmers here perhaps don't know that there's something else more that they can do with their plastic rather than just burying it or burning it. Next on our agenda will be something that I think we're all here really excited about, which is our Lids for Kids initiative, and that's recycling plastic lids, and that's from milk bottles and juice containers, that sort of thing, and they actually take the plastic and turn them into children's prosthetic hands. So a bloke in Melbourne who used to work for Holden Company as an engineer designed a plastic hand that is used by the muscle of the child. So there are no electronic components in there. It's purely a mechanical hand. And this wonderful company called Envision Hands has taken this free use source pattern that this guy's created, and they are collecting plastic lids, grinding them up, turning into plastic pellets, and then into lines, which they run through a 3D printer, and they're making plastic hands for children for free, and they will ship them wherever they are in the world that is needed. And we all think that this is such a great thing that we've started collecting lids for kids. So all our milk bottle containers and plastic lids here on campus are all being collected in a container and will be sent down to our local depot here in Burnie, and they are then shipping them off for 3D printing into hands. Inspired by the presentation of some of our New Zealand teams that we saw at the last webinar, we've decided to throw a staff party with cupcakes and plants for sale. And all the money that we're going to raise through these things is going to go for the Lids for Kids so that they can buy themselves another 3D printer and plastic grinder. And we're actually really excited by this initiative. We think it's wonderful. That's it. Thanks, everybody.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. I'm really excited to see how your farm recycling program goes, and you'll have to share with us what the stats are diverted from landfill or, you know, prevented from being burnt or buried, because I think that's absolutely amazing. And the Envision work, this is something I'm actually seeing pop up across quite a few different green impact programs. A lot of teams are getting involved with the collecting the bottle caps for the prosthetics. It's an absolutely amazing program. There is another one that's also around, which is collecting the bread clips, plastic bread clips, and they're getting made into wheelchairs. So fantastic to see some of these amazing plastic reuse programs coming up, and hopefully we can share a few more of teams getting involved with them. So well done. Thank you so much, and a great start to our sharing showcase today. Okay, so we'll get straight on to our next presenter. So Renee is going to be talking about the work that her team, the Composters, are doing at JCU. Renee, do you want to unmute yourself and get started?
Awesome, sounds good. My name is Renee and I'm the team lead for our team, the Composters. There's about 20 members in our team, so we had a lot of interest in our department, which was really good to see, and they're all keen to join up. At James Cook University, we are from the Estate Directorate, so pretty much we look after the campus as a whole, I guess you could say. So anything from maintenance to parking, vehicles, sustainability, timetabling, all the way to planning and construction. So it's very busy. And lots of different things happening in our area. The team hit the ground running to tackle as many actions as possible, and we were very keen to be leaders of change and to try and make an impact. So the actions, one of the actions that we've been working on, as a team, we are really passionate about people sustainability. So we hosted a stress down day morning tea in the office. Research shows that about 90% of Australians need to stress less, with 74% of people reporting being stressed from work. So we thought this would be a fun and easy way to reduce stress in the office and raise awareness for Lifeline. So we encourage staff to come to work wearing their slippers and to bring their best dad jokes along with a plate to share at morning tea. It was a really good turnout. We had a lot of staff come. There was lots of food, heaps of laughter, and a lot of bad dad jokes. So the event was definitely a success. And we noticed that the overall mood in the office that day had improved. So it was really good to see. We conducted a survey afterwards and found that 50% of staff surveyed were stressed prior to the event, with the other 50% sort of being average. And then on the day of the event, it was reported that 90% of the staff were not as stressed and a bit more relaxed, with 10% saying that there was no change. So yeah, this highlighted that all participants were happy with the event and it was a success. And they also recommended the event to other organisations. So it was really good. Just some comments from some staff from the day it was great to catch up with colleagues and have fun. The dad jokes were hilarious. They were pretty bad. It was great to have a break from work and laugh. And it felt like I should be wearing my pajamas as well. So yeah, no, it was a really good day. It was good to see. So that was the actions, and that's just some pictures from our day. So we have some crazy slippers in there. We've got monkey slippers and dogs and people wearing their thongs. So yeah, it was good to see people get into it. So the next slide is initiatives. So at James Cook University in Townsville, we have a community garden, and ours is a bit run down at the moment. So the team is really keen to revive it again. So we decided to hold a community garden cleanup event where we spent a couple of hours cleaning the garden up. So we removed rubbish, we did some weeding, some planting and mulching. And now that the water restrictions have been lifted in Townsville, we plan to irrigate the garden properly, so less maintenance and the plants won't die. And then we want to plan another trip back where we can go and plant some goodies. So things like strawberries, spinach, and we also want to plant some native bush tucker in the garden. So we're really keen to revive that one. James Cook University in Cairns has a community garden and it's amazing. So we want to follow suit and make ours amazing as well. With a number of our initiatives, we're trying to take the humorous approach to encourage staff to be environmentally sustainable, which entails, and it also, provides a bit of laughter to everybody's day. So one of these examples is the poster up in the top right-hand corner where it says you don't need an electrical engineering degree to turn off a switch. So we've got this poster up at every door that you exit the building. So hopefully as staff leave, it's a little bit of a reminder if they haven't switched off their computer or their air conditioner that they can quickly go back and do that. And we've also started a little reward system for this. So once a week on a random day, we're doing the sneaky walk around the office and checking whose screens are on or off. And if they're off, we're putting a little reward, which is just a little Mentos packet down in the bottom left-hand corner, sorry, that says, thank you for switching off your screen. We're just sticking that on their screen. And then we're hoping that other staff around them may suffer FOMO, which is fear of missing out, and they might follow suit as well for a little treat. Another little thing that we started is we had a waste audit conducted, and one of the main improvements that we could do within our area was that staff weren't placing the paper towel in the correct bins. So we created a Cookie Monster sign and placed it on the compost bin. So a lot of staff noticed that and thought it was a bit funny. So, and then they didn't actually know that the paper towel went in that bin. So it caught people's attention and is doing exactly what we had intended. So it's really good to see. And that's kind of it. That's what we've been doing over the last couple of months and plan to do moving forward. Thank you.
Thanks, Renee. Thank you for sharing. I really love how you're using humour and fun to interact with people to get them to be more sustainable. I was going to put you on the spot and ask you to tell us your best dad joke, but I won't.
Thank you.
Maybe another time we can preempt that one a little bit. Okay, so next we're going to move on to Dani, who's going to give us a bit of an update about the fantastic composting program that is happening at Deakin Uni at the moment. So Dani, do you want to come on and unmute your microphone?
Thanks, Ree. We got there. Hi, everybody. I'm Dani Harmshaw from Deakin University. I'm one of the Green Impact leads here alongside with Rebecca Petit-Bremwell, who have rolled out this year's Green Impact program. Today, I'm going to talk mostly about how we've rolled out staff kitchen composting across all of our campuses at Deakin through the Green Impact program as a medium to get that out. It's been really, really amazing, and the uptake has been incredibly quick and demanding. So it's really, really good. I just want to let you know a little bit about how this sort of came about and the context behind it. So Deakin has a high-level sustainability strategy which we look at as our 2030 aspirations, and the Green Impact program falls under our community engagement pillar, but also sort of brings in and wraps around all of our other aspirations within that, including natural environment, built environment, water, waste and recycling, policy and decision making, procurement and supply chain, travel and transport, and energy and emissions. So it's really cool to be able to interact with our Green Impact teams across all of these different aspirations and get them involved in a lot of different things, and particularly waste and recycling, because it's so poignant, as we all know at the moment, particularly in Victoria. So a little bit of background with organics at Deakin University. It sort of first came into the picture in 2016 when we opened up a organic sort of management system called a closed loop commercial system up at the Wanpons Estate, which is a corporate centre where we have a lot of our more corporate events or any conferences, that sort of thing. So out the back of their venue there, we installed a closed loop system to service their hospitality venue, which is going really great and still very active. So because of that initiative, we followed through in the next 2 years with a back of house organic waste disposal initiative, where all venues across Deakin started to separate out their organics into a composting green bin, and then was picked up by our contractors and commercially composted offsite. So that sort of spurred into Green Impact's 2018 pilot, which was sort of towards the end of last year. There was a gold action within our toolkit, which encouraged teams to set up a staff kitchen compost and figure out how to empty that compost bin. So a few teams took it back to their home gardens because the Burwood campus is a suburban campus. It's not really something that you can deal with a heap on site. We do have a community gardens there, which a lot of people were taking their compost to, but it's quite small and it can't really facilitate a large amount of organic waste coming through. So we really needed to think about how we could expand that and find a solution to those teams starting to establish compost bins in their staff kitchens. So through this year's Green Impact program, we sort of thought it was a perfect platform to really engage a large amount of people in this action, and it absolutely has been. We have about 70 compost bins that we've rolled out across all 4 of our campuses, being Warrnambool, the Geelong Waterfront City Campus, the Burwood Campus, as well as Warn Ponds, which is where I'm at the moment, one of our regional campuses. So we had to sort of roll it out quite slowly and considered. So we sort of first started by putting out a few newsletters, letting our teams know that we were up to this. So staff kitchen compost bins were coming, and if anyone was interested, they would register their interest in receiving one, and that sort of gave us an indication of just how many people really wanted to be involved and what the uptake would look like. So as that sort of started happening, we started creating really clear guidelines around what sort of responsibilities the compost bin would be, and some guidelines around cleaning and just hygiene and that sort of thing, because the Green Impact Champions were to be the primary people responsible for it, not the Deakin operational or service staff behind that. So most teams were really excited with that and didn't mind too much. There were a few questions raised at the beginning, but it didn't really take much convincing. I think people really want to be changing their waste behaviours and becoming more sustainable, especially if they've inquired about it in the first place. And what we've sort of found is, as we've rolled it out as well, if people are provided the option to compost, they often will. So that's really positive. And as we've rolled this out across the campuses, we've provided a digital campus map which would show our Green Impact staff teams exactly where all of the larger organic waste drop-off locations were, so our waste disposal points, where they could take the compost caddy and empty it out. We also supplied them with a poster behind the compost caddy, so I think you can probably see in one of those great pictures of our library team and a few other teams down there. They're holding a poster which sort of gives their team a little bit of rep about Green Impact. They pop their team name down there, and then they also pop 2 of the key staff responsible for that compost caddy, just in case one person goes away and can't be responsible for it for a week or so. And there's someone to contact if another staff member comes along and is questioning that compost bin being there, or has an issue or anything like that. So we've provided them with that 7-litre, I think you can see in a lot of those photos as well, the small compost caddy, which has some pretty clear messaging on the front about what can go in it. So our compost is commercially composted, so we can accept things like paper towel, tea bags without the staple string and little cardboard plastic tag, bread, all milk and dairy products, pretty much anything organic, and most of it is really plate waste and fruit peelings from what we've found so far. And the way that I sort of delivered this out was delivering each and every compost caddy face to face with all of the teams, which was super fun. Getting a chance to really interact and, you know, walk them to their staff area's closest organic waste disposal point. And having a really good chat about what it meant and how thankful, you know, our organisational sustainability team is that they're being responsible for this action. So that's how it rolled out across the 4 campuses, which is really great. The future of this has sort of come up, I guess, in issues and questions raised by our team about, you know, who's responsible for this, and teams have suggested that it become part of the operation of the cleaners or some different, you know, method. But for the moment, this is what we're going with, and it seems to be working airtight. We haven't had many people come up with any issues around cleanliness or had any external, like people outside the teams contact the sustainability team. And it seems to be running really, really smoothly. So my fingers are crossed and hoping that it continues that way. And I do believe it will, because I think most people are either doing composting at home and are jumping at the opportunity to be able to do it at their workplace. So it's really, really positive. So yeah, I think that's all I've got to say. I'm sure there might be a couple of questions, I'm not sure, but thanks so much for having me on today, Ree.
Not a problem at all. Thank you so much for sharing how you're tackling food waste, particularly for your green impact teams. I know this is something that comes up time and time again when I'm interacting with different institutions that are running green impact, particularly at our welcome sessions when we're introducing the program. It's always the thing that people ask about first and foremost: how do we deal with food waste? So it's really great to see you guys having a proactive approach to it and putting something into place. So I will open it up for questions now. I have a couple of questions, but I'd like to give our participants the opportunity to put them to you as well. So let me just I've got, so Jessica Flint, you have got your hand raised. I'm going to unmute your microphone so you can ask a question. Go ahead, Jessica. Oh, hopefully, I do have your microphone unmuted there. So if you're not able to speak directly, you can type in your question into the chat bar. Okay, I might just mute Jessica there. Let's see how that goes.
Hang on, can you guys hear me?
Oh, there we go. Yes.
Sorry. Sorry, I had the wrong microphone on the settings. I did have a question for the Deakin composters, because we're looking at doing organic waste collection in Burnie here, and we have a connection with a local charity that are going to be doing buying their own commercial composter. So you mentioned that you accept paper towel and tea bags. Do you need to be careful of which brand of tea bags there are? Because I've heard that some will contain plastics in the bags.
Yes. So we've actually been in contact with just to be honest, for the moment, I am only really suggesting to people who are really gung-ho with composting to compost the tea bags, but through our messaging, it would be that they aren't, just because you do have to, it's quite a process. You've got to take out the small part of metal in the top of the tea bag where the cotton might have a part of synthetic material in it. There might be plastic on the small tag which has the branding. But most of the time, the actual casing of the tea itself will be a material that can be broken down like paper towel. So it'd just be for Deakin, we have you know, a brand that we supply to pretty much all of our tea rooms and kitchenettes. So it's the same across the university, which makes it easier for us to sort of monitor. But yeah, it's a question that you probably have to speak to your collection and the composting charity and see if they were willing to accept different types of tea bags or if they recommended a type of tea bag to you. Yeah, I hope that answers your question.
Sorry, I just had to mute Jessica because we were getting some feedback from her mic. So I'll just quickly unmute again. Did that answer your question?
Right. Yeah, that was really good. We did a waste audit like on Friday, and most of the tea bags were ones that had been supplied to the tea room, like they were the same brand. But there were a couple of like ones that are obviously being brought onto campus that people wanted to drink. So yeah. I was supposing you might not advertise the tea bag collection, but let it be known to people who you know are going to do the right thing.
Yeah, that's probably how I would do it. Like personally, I compost the tea bags that I use, but I have to you know, there's a bit of an OH&S thing around it as well. If I'm pulling out a hot tea bag and ripping the metal off the actual tea bag. So I'd say it's probably better to avoid that unless your entire tea bag is made from compostable material.
Yeah. No, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, I don't have many questions coming through, so just a reminder, if anybody wants to ask a question of any of our panelists today, please do either raise your hand so I can unmute you, or type in a question into the question bar within the control panel there. I was curious to ask also, Dani, about the composting. Are you planning to, or are you already expanding the collection of the caddies outside of the Green Impact program, or is it purely just within your teams that are doing that at the moment?
Yeah, so that's actually a great question. We've recently started doing that, which has been really wonderful, I guess, because the rest, you know, in staff areas, obviously not everybody is a part of a Green Impact program, but they'll start noticing compost caddies around there, which is another really great way to engage people within the program. But we have had a few people who don't have enough time to sort of engage with it, but have emailed the sustainability inbox and requested that their area have a compost caddy. So that's been really great. There's probably been around 3 requests for that so far, but I suspect that it will go up, and hopefully we can start thinking about how we can actually cast that net a bit wider and maybe engage a few people outside of Green Impact. That would be really lovely, because it's not too hard, and our Green Impact champions love it. So yeah, hopefully we can just keep growing.
Fantastic. And are you collecting any stats around how much waste you're diverting or collecting, how much food waste?
So not specifically, like we're not having anyone record how many times they're emptying it or anything like that. So we sort of thought about that at the start, but just because our Green Impact champions, you know, we think that they're taking this activity on their own back, and that's a really positive move. To put any more, you know, having to record or jot down numbers, we just thought was probably a little bit outside of what we'd asked them to do. But we can sort of suspect that people are emptying these compost bins at around twice a week at minimum, at absolute minimum. And these 7 litre compost bins, they probably have around maybe just under 5 kilos of rubbish or compost in them every time they're emptied. So if you times that by the 70 compost bins, and then twice a week, that's around 700 kilos, I guess, a week, or kilograms a week. And looking at, yeah, quite a big number. I think I just did a back of the envelope the other day, and it was around 35,000 kilograms a year, just for like a 50-week period when the university is in operation. And that's, you know, that they're very rough underestimated numbers. So yeah, hopefully there's a really big diversion from landfill there.
Fantastic. Awesome. Well, if you have any issues with fruit flies, let me know, because we've got some tips from our compost bin at work on how to keep them at bay.
we are trying. So with developing the clear guidelines and responsibilities around it, that's a big part of it, is just making sure that people really understand that they have to stay on top of it. We've got, you know, library teams who have a kitchen compost bin, and getting fruit flies or any type of pest within a library is just a no-go. So we do really have to make sure that we keep on that. And the actual compost caddy itself, it's kind of like a little esky where the handle actually flips over and locks down the top lid, which can prevent any pests or things from actually being able to enter it at night time when people aren't around. So yeah, for the moment, our issues are very minimal, and hopefully it continues to be that way.
Fantastic, awesome. I have had a question come through. So Arthur has asked in the question bar something that nobody's touched on, but I'm going to throw it out on his behalf anyway. He's asked if anybody has come across a good app for monitoring stair climbing. I certainly haven't on behalf of myself. I don't know if any of our other presenters have come across that in their Green Impact travels, or if anybody that's listening in knows of something. Otherwise, Arthur has suggested that he might look into developing something if there isn't anything already out there. So I'm sorry, Arthur, I don't know of anything specifically myself. I'll just give it a minute to see if anybody else chimes in on that one, and thank you for asking the question. I'll do last call on questions for the session today. If any of our presenters have any questions of the other presenters, then feel free to jump in. I've got sorry, just monitoring the doesn't look like anybody's got any ideas around stair climbing apps. Beck, you briefly put your hand up. I just want to check you didn't want to ask anything. Okay. What I might do then is start to wrap up this session. So thank you everybody for joining in today. I hope you found it useful and inspirational. I certainly did. And some of the ideas that are coming up through our teams particularly around the really creative ways that we can recycle some of the specific items that have been identified for Next Life. We'll certainly be looking at integrating these into the toolkits more generally. And it's fantastic to see teams actually taking the initiative to come up with those collection points themselves now. Let me just jump into, I did have one more slide, which my Prezi is not behaving. There we go. I just wanted to remind everybody that if you're looking for inspiration, we are looking to develop the resources, the general Green Impact resources that we have. So if you haven't logged into or looked into the Green Impact website, it's there for you, greenimpact.axe.asn.au. We're working to continually develop the resources we have available for you. So even though you may have some available from your sustainability team, do check in and have a look on what we've got available on our website. Including in there will be links to previous recordings of these showcases, so we'll make them available for you to listen to at any other time. So they're all there on our resources page, and we really look forward to developing that further as we go. If you're on the socials and sharing what you're doing, then don't forget to tag there's the Green Impact hashtag, which is sort of the overall global program, and then we do have the Green Impact AUNZ hashtag specifically for our region. That's our account there, so we like to highlight the work that teams do, and particularly if they share it on socials. Props to all the Deakin teams. We've got a ton of the Deakin teams that are on Twitter sharing what they do on a day-to-day basis, which is amazing. If you have any questions about the program itself, please do get in contact with me. My email is there. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you on our next Green Impact Team Showcase, and I wish you all the very best with your programs as we head into toolkit deadlines for this year. Thank you again to all of our amazing presenters. I'll see if I can jump back in and bring them up. Louise, Alison, Renee, and Dani, really appreciate you taking the time to show us what you've been doing for this year. So that's it from me. No other further questions. So that's it. We'll wrap up. Enjoy the rest of your days.